What if one of history's greatest conquerors was never supposed to become king, long before his armies marched across Asia, long before the Persian Empire trembled at the sound of his name? Alexander was simply a young prince growing up in a kingdom surrounded by enemies. No one could have imagined that this boy would one day build one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen. But his journey did not begin on a battlefield. It began in the rugged mountains and fertile valleys of ancient Macedonia, a land that many Greeks looked down upon, a kingdom they considered rough, uncivilized, and unworthy of leading the Greek world. Yet within only a few decades, everything would change. The man who made that transformation possible was Alexander's father, King Philip II of Macedon. When Philip became king in 359 BC, Macedonia stood on the edge of destruction. Enemy tribes attacked from the north. Powerful Greek city-states threatened from the south. The royal treasury was nearly empty. Even the Macedonian army lacked the discipline needed to survive against stronger opponents. Many believed the kingdom would soon disappear from history. Philip refused to accept that fate. Instead of surrendering, he completely transformed Macedonia. He reorganized the army, introduced longer spears known as the sarissa, created the famous Macedonian phalanx, improved cavalry tactics, strengthened the economy, built new fortifications, and slowly, victory after victory expanded his kingdom. Within a generation, Macedonia had become the strongest military power in Greece. But while Philip reshaped his kingdom, another story was beginning inside the royal palace. In 356 BC, a prince was born in the ancient city of Pella. His name was Alexander. Ancient writers later surrounded his birth with extraordinary legends. Some claimed that on the very night Alexander was born, the great temple of Artemis at Ephesus caught fire. Others believed strange signs in the heavens foretold the arrival of someone destined for greatness. Modern historians view these stories as later myths created to glorify Alexander's life. But one fact is certain: his birth changed the course of history. Alexander's mother was Queen Olympias, a princess from Epirus. She was intelligent, strong-willed, deeply religious, and unlike many royal women of her time, she played an active role in politics. Ancient sources describe Olympias as fiercely protective of her son. She constantly reminded Alexander that he was destined for greatness. Some stories even claimed she believed he carried divine blood, whether those stories were true or later exaggerations. Her influence over Alexander was undeniable. His father shaped him into a warrior. His mother filled him with ambition. Growing up inside the royal court was anything but peaceful. The palace was filled with rival nobles. Political alliances changed constantly. Plots and betrayals were common. Royal families throughout the ancient world rarely enjoyed secure lives. Every decision carried political consequences, even as a child. Alexander learned that power could disappear overnight. Unlike many princes, Alexander received an education far beyond military training. He studied music, poetry, mathematics, medicine, philosophy, geography, and the history of earlier civilizations. His tutors recognized something unusual about him. He learned quickly, asked difficult questions, and possessed an intense curiosity about the world beyond Macedonia. He especially admired the legendary Greek hero Achilles, the fearless warrior of Homer's Iliad. Alexander listened repeatedly to stories of Achilles' courage, his victories, his flaws, and his pursuit of eternal glory. Those stories would shape Alexander for the rest of his life. He did not simply want wealth. He wanted to be remembered forever. As Alexander grew older, his father noticed something remarkable. The young prince possessed extraordinary confidence, sometimes, perhaps too much confidence. One famous story survives from Alexander's childhood. Although historians debate some of its details, it remains one of the best-known episodes of his early life. A magnificent black stallion was brought before King Philip. The horse was powerful, fast, and incredibly expensive. But no rider could control it. Every experienced horseman who approached was thrown to the ground. The animal appeared completely wild. Philip prepared to reject the purchase. Then, young Alexander stepped forward. Many adults laughed. If trained warriors could not ride the horse, How could a boy succeed? Alexander quietly observed the animal. He noticed something others had missed. The horse became frightened whenever it saw its own shadow, instead of forcing it to obey. Alexander gently turned the horse toward the sun. The shadow disappeared. The animal immediately became calmer, speaking softly. Alexander approached. He climbed onto its back. Moments later, the horse galloped across the open fields under the complete control of the young prince. The crowd watched in astonishment when Alexander finally returned. King Philip reportedly embraced his son and declared, "My son, seek a kingdom equal to yourself. Macedonia is too small for you." Whether those exact words were ever spoken remains uncertain. Ancient historians often included dramatic speeches to strengthen their stories, but the event itself became one of the defining moments of Alexander's youth. The horse received the name Bucephalus. For nearly 20 years, horse and rider would fight side by side across 3 continents. As Alexander entered his teenage years, Philip's victories continued. One Greek city after another accepted Macedonian authority, some willingly, others only after defeat. Yet many Greek leaders deeply resented Philip's growing power. They viewed Macedonia as an outsider, a kingdom of northern warriors attempting to dominate the ancient Greek world. Among Philip's greatest opponents stood the famous Athenian orator Demosthenes. Through powerful speeches, he repeatedly warned the Greek cities that Philip threatened their freedom. Again and again, he urged them to unite before it was too late. But rivalry between the Greek city-states prevented lasting cooperation. Athens distrusted Thebes, Thebes distrusted Sparta. Old conflicts proved stronger than new dangers. Philip used those divisions wisely. By defeating enemies separately, he avoided facing them all at once. Alexander closely observed every campaign. He watched how alliances formed, how diplomacy worked, how armies moved, and how his father combined military strength with careful political planning. These lessons would become invaluable in later years. Philip understood that his son needed more than battlefield experience. He needed the greatest education available in the ancient world. Around 343 BC, Philip made a decision that would influence history. He invited one of Greece's most brilliant minds to educate the young prince. His name was Aristotle, already respected as one of the greatest philosophers of his age. Aristotle accepted the invitation. A quiet sanctuary at Mieza became Alexander's classroom. There, far from the distractions of the royal court, the future conqueror studied under one of history's greatest thinkers. Aristotle taught philosophy, ethics, politics, science, medicine, logic, literature, and geography. He encouraged Alexander to question everything, to understand different cultures, to study nature, and to think beyond the borders of Macedonia. Alexander developed a lifelong fascination with exploration. Unknown lands no longer frightened him. Instead, they attracted him. He wanted to see the edges of the known world with his own eyes. Aristotle also introduced him to the writings of Homer. Alexander reportedly kept a copy of the Iliad close throughout many of his military campaigns. He admired Achilles not only as a warrior, but as someone who chose everlasting fame over a long, ordinary life. It was an ideal that would shape every major decision Alexander later made. Yet while the prince studied philosophy and literature, King Philip continued preparing for something even greater. His dream extended beyond Greece, across the Aegean Sea. The mighty Persian Empire still ruled vast territories stretching from Egypt to Central Asia. For generations, Persia had dominated the ancient world. Philip believed the time had finally come for the Greeks to unite and invade the Persian Empire. Plans were already taking shape. Weapons were being forged. Generals were preparing. And young Alexander eagerly watched as history moved toward a turning point. Neither father nor son could know that the greatest challenge facing Macedonia would not come from Persia. It would come from within the royal family itself. And before Alexander could conquer the world, he would first have to fight for the throne. Alexander's education under Aristotle had given him knowledge few princes of the ancient world ever received. He had studied philosophy, science, medicine, politics, literature, and the histories of great civilizations, but no classroom, no matter how extraordinary, could fully prepare him for what came next. because while Alexander was learning how kingdoms should be ruled, his father was busy creating the greatest army Greece had ever seen. Every year, King Philip II strengthened Macedonia. New soldiers joined the ranks. Experienced officers trained younger recruits. The famous Macedonian phalanx became more disciplined than ever before, armed with sarissas nearly 6 meters long. Its soldiers could strike enemies long before ordinary spears came within reach. Behind them stood experienced cavalry, archers, engineers, and supply officers. Philip understood something many rulers ignored. Battles were not won by courage alone. They were won through preparation. Alexander watched these reforms closely. Whenever his father inspected the army, the young prince often accompanied him. He observed military drills, studied battlefield formations, listened to commanders discussing strategy. He was no longer simply the king's son. He was preparing to become a military leader himself. Around this time, Philip began involving Alexander in affairs of government. The prince attended meetings with foreign ambassadors. He observed negotiations. He watched alliances being formed and learned how diplomacy could sometimes achieve more than war, even as a teenager. Alexander impressed experienced nobles with his confidence. He spoke clearly, asked intelligent questions, and rarely appeared intimidated by older men. Philip recognized that confidence, but he also noticed another quality. Alexander possessed enormous ambition. Sometimes, that ambition bordered on impatience. He wanted to prove himself, not someday, but immediately. His first real opportunity came sooner than anyone expected. In 340 BC, Philip left Macedonia to lead a military campaign against Byzantium. Before departing, he entrusted the government to 16-year-old Alexander. The young prince became regent for the first time. He carried responsibility for the kingdom. Many nobles likely questioned whether someone so young could handle such authority. Alexander quickly silenced those doubts, while Philip remained away. A Thracian tribe known as the Mede launched a rebellion. Rather than waiting for his father's return, Alexander gathered troops himself. He marched north, defeated the rebels, captured their stronghold, and founded a new settlement there. He named it Alexandropolis. Although the city itself would not become famous, the campaign demonstrated something important. Alexander could command soldiers successfully. His victories were not simply the result of his father's reputation. He had begun earning respect on his own. When Philip returned, he found not a kingdom in crisis, a one whose young regent had strengthened royal authority. Father and son celebrated the victory together. Yet beneath their growing success, political tensions continued building. Philip's influence across Greece expanded rapidly. Many city-states realized resisting Macedonia individually had become nearly impossible. Still, some refused to submit. The greatest challenge came from two powerful rivals, Athens and Thebes. These ancient cities formed an alliance against Philip together. They hoped to stop Macedonia before it became unstoppable. The confrontation came in 338 BC near the small town of Chaeronea. It would become one of the most important battles in Greek history. Philip commanded the Macedonian army. Alexander, only 18 years old, received command of the elite companion cavalry. It was an extraordinary responsibility. The companion cavalry represented Macedonia's finest mounted warriors. Their discipline, training, and loyalty made them among the most feared cavalry units in the ancient world. Many veteran officers likely wondered whether such an important command should be entrusted to someone so young. Alexander intended to prove every doubt wrong. As the battle began, Philip deliberately withdrew part of his own line. The Athenians believed the Macedonians were retreating, confident of victory. They advanced, but Philip had planned the movement carefully. The Greek line stretched farther and farther out of position. At precisely the right moment, Alexander attacked, leading the companion cavalry. He charged directly toward the sacred band of Thebes. The sacred band consisted of 300 elite warriors. For decades, they had earned a reputation as one of Greece's greatest military units. Few armies had ever defeated them. Alexander showed no hesitation. The cavalry struck with enormous force. The Macedonian phalanx advanced simultaneously, Caught between disciplined infantry and charging cavalry, the Theban line collapsed. The sacred band fought almost to the last man. Ancient historians later reported that nearly every member died where he stood. Their bravery became legendary. But bravery alone could not overcome Philip's military reforms. When the battle ended, the alliance opposing Macedonia had been destroyed. Chaeronea changed history forever. Greek independence effectively ended. Macedonia now stood as the dominant power in Greece. Alexander emerged from the battlefield with enormous prestige. He was still only 18 years old, yet soldiers had watched him lead one of the decisive attacks of the battle. Veteran commanders now viewed him differently. He was no longer merely the heir to the throne. He had become a proven battlefield commander, following the victory. Philip treated the defeated Greeks with surprising moderation. Rather than destroying every city, he sought cooperation. Most Greek states eventually joined a new alliance known as the League of Corinth officially. The cities remained independent. In reality, Philip controlled them. Only Sparta refused to join. Philip chose not to force the issue. His attention had already shifted elsewhere, toward Persia for generations. The Persian Empire had remained the greatest power in the known world. Its territory stretched across 3 continents. Its wealth seemed limitless. Its armies numbered in the hundreds of thousands to many Greeks. Invading Persia appeared impossible. Philip disagreed. He argued that centuries earlier, Persian kings had invaded Greece. Now, the Greeks should unite and carry the war into Asia. Many welcomed the idea. A common enemy offered something Greece had rarely enjoyed: unity. Preparations accelerated. Engineers built equipment. Supplies were gathered. Experienced officers planned routes across the Hellespont. Everything suggested that Macedonia stood on the edge of history's greatest military expedition. Alexander eagerly anticipated the campaign. He dreamed of crossing into Asia beside his father, of defeating Persia together, of achieving glory worthy of Achilles himself. But while Macedonia prepared for foreign conquest, the royal household became increasingly divided. Philip's marriage to Olympias had never been peaceful. Arguments became more frequent. Political rivalries intensified. Then, Philip made a decision that changed everything. He married another woman. Her name was Cleopatra Eurydice. Unlike Olympias, she was Macedonian by birth. For many nobles, the marriage carried enormous political significance. If Cleopatra produced a son, that child might possess a stronger claim to the throne than Alexander. Suddenly, the succession became uncertain. Tension inside the royal family exploded during the wedding celebration. Ancient historian Plutarch describes one dramatic confrontation. During the feast, a powerful noble named Attalus reportedly toasted the hope that Philip's new marriage would produce a legitimate heir. Alexander immediately interpreted the remark as an insult. Enraged, he threw a drinking cup toward Attalus. A furious argument followed. Philip himself became involved. According to later accounts, the king attempted to draw his sword against his own son, but while rushing forward, he stumbled and fell. Alexander supposedly looked at the assembled guests and declared, "Here is the man preparing to cross from Europe into Asia, yet he cannot even cross from one couch to another." Whether every detail occurred exactly as ancient writers described remains uncertain. But historians agree that relations between father and son reached their lowest point soon afterward. Alexander and Olympias temporarily left the royal court for a time. It seemed possible that the prince might never inherit Macedonia at all. The kingdom now stood in a dangerous position. Externally, Philip had never been stronger. Internally, his own family had become deeply divided. Few could predict how quickly events would spiral beyond anyone's control. Within only 2 years, a shocking act of violence would change the fate of Macedonia forever. A single assassination would place a 20-year-old prince upon the throne, and the greatest conquest in history would finally begin. Alexander had returned to the Macedonian court. The bitter conflict between father and son had begun to ease. King Philip II remained determined to invade the Persian Empire. The army was ready. The Greek city-states had been brought under Macedonian leadership, experienced generals finalized plans for the greatest military expedition Europe had ever attempted. Everything appeared to be falling into place. No one expected that within days, the king himself would be dead. In the summer of 336 BC, the royal city of Ægis prepared for a magnificent celebration. Philip had arranged a grand festival to honor both religious ceremonies and the marriage of his daughter Cleopatra to King Alexander of Epirus. Nobles arrived from every corner of Greece. Foreign ambassadors gathered inside the city. Military commanders attended the festivities. Musicians, athletes, priests, and thousands of spectators filled the streets. It was meant to display Macedonia's power before the entire Greek world. Philip wanted everyone to witness the strength of the kingdom he had built. On the day of the ceremony, the king entered the theater dressed in brilliant white robes. Unlike many rulers, he walked without heavy protection. Ancient writers claimed Philip wished to demonstrate complete confidence before his people. As the crowd applauded, a member of his own royal bodyguard suddenly rushed forward. His name was Pausanias. Before anyone could react, he drove a dagger into the king. Philip collapsed. Panic swept through the gathering. Guards immediately chased the assassin. Pausanias attempted to escape toward waiting horses, but he stumbled within moments. The pursuing guards caught him. He was killed before anyone could question him. The assassination stunned the ancient world. The most powerful king in Greece, the man preparing to invade Persia, was dead. But one mystery immediately emerged. Why had Pausanias killed Philip? Ancient historians offered several explanations. Some believed the assassination resulted from a personal dispute involving honor and revenge. Others suspected political conspiracies inside the royal court. Over the centuries, many theories have blamed different individuals. Some accused Olympias. Others pointed toward Alexander himself. Still others believed foreign powers such as Persia secretly supported the assassination. Modern historians continue debating the evidence. No theory has ever been proven beyond doubt. What remains certain is that Philip's death created an immediate crisis. The kingdom suddenly had no clear ruler. Alexander was only 20 years old. Many neighboring kingdoms viewed him as an inexperienced young prince. Several Greek city-states believed Macedonia's power would now collapse. Old enemies prepared to rebel. Foreign rulers watched carefully. They expected civil war. Instead, Alexander moved faster than anyone anticipated. Within hours, supporters inside the army proclaimed him king. The Macedonian nobles gathered. Most accepted the succession. The loyalty Philip had built within the army now became Alexander's greatest advantage. The soldiers knew the young prince. Many had watched him fight beside them at Chaeronea. They trusted his courage. But becoming king did not guarantee survival. Ancient monarchies could be ruthless. Any rival claimant represented a potential threat. Alexander understood that hesitation could destroy everything. He acted decisively. Several political rivals were removed from power. Those considered dangerous to the stability of the kingdom were eliminated. Others pledged loyalty and were allowed to remain. These actions have often been criticized by modern readers. Yet in the ancient world, such struggles were common whenever a king died. Alexander's first responsibility was securing the throne. Without stability at home, any foreign invasion would be impossible. Meanwhile, news of Philip's death spread rapidly across Greece. Many cities celebrated. Athens hoped Macedonian rule had finally ended. Thebes began preparing for rebellion. Northern tribes also sensed an opportunity. They believed a young and inexperienced ruler could never control the empire Philip had created. Alexander intended to prove them wrong. Rather than waiting for enemies to unite, he struck first. He marched north with astonishing speed. Crossing difficult mountain passes, his army entered the lands of hostile Thracian tribes. The campaign tested both Alexander and his soldiers. Steep cliffs, dense forests, and narrow valleys made movement dangerous. At one mountain pass, enemy warriors blocked the road. Ancient sources describe the defenders preparing an unusual attack. They gathered large wagons at the top of the slopes. As the Macedonians advanced, the wagons were pushed downhill. The massive vehicles thundered toward the advancing army. Alexander had anticipated the possibility. He ordered his soldiers to open gaps in their formations. Some wagons rolled harmlessly through the spaces. Others were stopped with long spears. The attack failed. The Macedonians continued climbing. The defenders broke. Another victory strengthened Alexander's reputation. He pressed onward without delay, crossing the mighty Danube River. His army launched a surprise attack against tribes beyond the frontier. Many believed such an operation impossible. Alexander completed it in a single night. The enemy fled. The northern frontier became secure. Word of these victories spread quickly. Greek leaders who had doubted the young king began reconsidering their plans. But one city refused to believe the reports: Thebes. False rumors reached the city. Some claimed Alexander had died during the northern campaign. Others insisted his army had been destroyed. Encouraged by these stories, Thebes openly revolted. The rebels expelled the Macedonian garrison. Messengers raced across Greece calling for support. Athens watched carefully. Other cities hesitated. If Thebes succeeded, Macedonian control might finally collapse. Alexander learned of the rebellion almost immediately. He reacted with incredible speed, covering enormous distances in only a few days. His army suddenly appeared outside Thebes. The citizens could hardly believe their eyes. They had expected weeks. Instead, Alexander stood before their walls almost without warning. He offered generous terms. Surrender, accept Macedonian authority once again, and the city would be spared. Some Thebans wished to negotiate, others refused. They believed resistance remained possible. The decision sealed the city's fate. The Macedonian assault began. Fighting spread through the streets, house by house, square by square. The defenders fought bravely, but they could not overcome Alexander's experienced army. When the battle ended, Thebes had fallen. Alexander then made one of the most controversial decisions of his career. The city was destroyed. Most of its buildings were demolished. Many inhabitants were killed or sold into slavery. Only temples and the house traditionally associated with the poet Pindar were reportedly spared. The destruction shocked the entire Greek world. Its message was unmistakable. Rebellion against Macedonia would carry devastating consequences. The effect was immediate. Cities that had considered joining the revolt abandoned their plans. Athens prepared for the worst. Many feared Alexander would march directly against them. Instead, he chose restraint. The Athenians submitted peacefully. Alexander accepted their loyalty. No destruction followed with astonishing speed. The young king had achieved what many thought impossible. He had secured Macedonia, defeated northern tribes, destroyed the most dangerous rebellion in Greece, and restored his father's empire. He was only 20 years old now, for the first time. Nothing stood between Alexander and the dream his father had never lived to fulfill. Across the narrow waters of the Hellespont, the vast Persian Empire still waited. Within months, Alexander would lead nearly 40,000 soldiers out of Europe. Most believed they were marching toward a glorious campaign. Few realized they were about to witness one of the greatest military adventures in human history. The rebellion in Greece had been crushed. The northern tribes had submitted. The kingdom stood united once again. At only 20 years old, Alexander had accomplished what many experienced rulers could not. He had secured his throne, silenced his enemies, and restored stability across Macedonia. Now, the dream that had belonged to his father became his own. The invasion of the Persian Empire. For more than 2 centuries, Persia had ruled as the greatest empire in the known world. Its territory stretched from Egypt to the borders of India, from the mountains of Anatolia to the deserts of Central Asia. Millions of people lived under the authority of the Persian king. Its wealth was legendary. Its royal cities dazzled visitors with magnificent palaces. Its armies had defeated countless enemies across 3 continents. To many, the Persian Empire appeared too vast to conquer. Alexander believed otherwise. In the spring of 334 BC, the Macedonian army assembled near the shores of the Hellespont. The narrow stretch of water separated Europe from Asia. For Alexander, crossing it carried enormous symbolic meaning. He was not simply beginning a military campaign. He was entering the continent where generations earlier Persian kings had marched west to invade Greece. Now, a Greek-led army would march east, Ancient sources estimate that Alexander commanded around 40,000 soldiers, compared to Persia. It was a remarkably small force. His army included the disciplined Macedonian phalanx, the elite companion cavalry, Greek allied infantry, light cavalry, archers, engineers, doctors, surveyors, and thousands of support personnel. Every soldier had a specific role. Years of training under Philip II had created one of the finest armies in history. Alexander understood that discipline mattered more than numbers. Before leaving Europe, he made an extraordinary decision. Much of his personal wealth was distributed among his companions. One officer reportedly asked him what he had kept for himself. Alexander answered with a single word: hope. Whether those exact words were spoken remains uncertain. Ancient historians often preserve dramatic conversations, but the story reflected Alexander's confidence. He believed victory itself would provide everything they needed. The fleet crossed the Hellespont without serious opposition. As Alexander stepped onto Asian soil, he performed an act that became famous throughout history, according to several ancient writers. He threw his spear into the ground. By doing so, he symbolically claimed Asia as land won by the spear, a land to be conquered, not inherited. Soon afterward, Alexander traveled to the ancient city of Troy, the legendary setting of Homer's Iliad. For him, this visit was deeply personal. Ever since childhood, he had admired Achilles above all other heroes. Inside the sacred sites of Troy, Alexander honored the memory of the ancient warrior. He reportedly placed a wreath upon what was believed to be Achilles' tomb. His close friend Hephaestion honored the tomb of Patroclus. The symbolism was powerful. Alexander saw himself following in the footsteps of his greatest hero, not merely fighting battles, but pursuing everlasting glory. While Alexander visited Troy, Persian officials were already reacting. The western provinces of the empire were governed by powerful satraps. These provincial governors possessed considerable authority. Many urged immediate action. They argued that the Macedonian invasion should be stopped before it gained momentum. Among the experienced Persian commanders was Memnon of Rhodes. Interestingly, Memnon was not Persian. He was a Greek mercenary serving the Persian king. Unlike many others, he respected Alexander's abilities. Memnon proposed avoiding direct battle instead. He recommended destroying crops, removing supplies, and forcing the Macedonian army to advance through devastated territory. Without food, without resources, Alexander's invasion might collapse before reaching the heart of Persia. It was a sensible strategy, but many Persian nobles rejected it. They refused to destroy their own lands, confident in their superior numbers. They believed one decisive battle would eliminate the invaders. That decision would prove costly. The Persian commanders assembled their forces near the Granicus River in northwestern Asia Minor. The river formed a natural defensive position. Steep banks, swift currents, and experienced cavalry lined the opposite shore. Many believed Alexander would wait, perhaps searching for another crossing, or delaying until better conditions appeared. Instead, he prepared to attack immediately. Some of his own generals advised caution. Parmenion, one of Philip's most experienced commanders, suggested waiting until morning. Crossing a river against an enemy was among the most dangerous operations in ancient warfare. Alexander refused. Delay might encourage the Persians. It might weaken his soldiers' confidence. He wanted the initiative, as always. He intended to seize it. The Macedonian army formed for battle. Infantry advanced toward the river. Cavalry assembled beside them. Alexander took his place with the companion cavalry. He wore a polished bronze helmet crowned with white feathers. His armor reflected the afternoon sunlight. Every soldier could easily identify their king. Unlike many rulers, Alexander did not command safely from behind the lines. He fought beside his men. The signal was given. Trumpets echoed across the valley. The cavalry entered the river. Water splashed around horses struggling against the current. Persian archers and cavalry attacked from the opposite bank. The crossing immediately became chaotic. Men fell, horses slipped, spears shattered for several moments. The outcome remained uncertain. Alexander pushed forward, leading the attack himself. The companion cavalry finally reached the opposite bank. Fierce hand-to-hand combat erupted. Persian nobles concentrated their attacks on Alexander. They understood that killing the young king might end the invasion instantly. During the fighting, Alexander's helmet was struck. Another Persian commander raised his weapon for a fatal blow. At the last possible moment, Cleitus the Black charged into the struggle. With one powerful strike, he killed the attacker before Alexander could be hit. The king's life had been saved. It would not be the last time fortune favored him. Meanwhile, the Macedonian phalanx successfully crossed the river. Its long sarissas pushed steadily against the Persian line. The disciplined infantry advanced. The cavalry exploited every opening. Gradually, the Persian formation collapsed. Many cavalry units fled the battlefield. Greek mercenaries fighting for Persia continued resisting. Some fought until surrounded. Others attempted surrender. Ancient sources differ regarding Alexander's treatment of them. Many were killed. Others were reportedly sent back to Macedonia in chains for fighting against fellow Greeks in Persian service. The Battle of the Granicus ended in complete Macedonian victory. Alexander's first battle in Asia had been won. Its importance extended far beyond the battlefield. For the first time, the myth of Persian invincibility had been shattered. Cities across Asia Minor began reconsidering their loyalties. Some opened their gates willingly. Others expelled Persian officials before Alexander even arrived. Momentum had shifted. Victory also brought enormous wealth, weapons, armor, horses, treasure, and military supplies strengthened the Macedonian army. Alexander carefully honored his fallen soldiers. He ordered statues made for many of those who had died. Their families received exemptions from certain taxes. He wanted every soldier to know their sacrifices would never be forgotten. But Alexander understood something even more important. The Battle of the Granicus was only the beginning. Far to the east, the ruler of the greatest empire on earth had finally begun paying attention. His name was Darius I. The provincial governors Alexander had just defeated. Darius commanded the full resources of the Persian Empire, millions of subjects, countless cities, and an army far larger than anything Alexander had yet encountered. Their first meeting would decide the future of Asia itself.